and otherwise. Several parts of Asia are very well known for their bang products. Bangladesh is in fact named after that. I think Bangkok is also very famous for having a variety of kinds of spices and different things across the city. There's sort of, I think I read once there was 13 different distinct kinds of bang that were being made in different areas around Bangkok itself.
Now, is bang always cooked into like an animal milk, like goat's milk or something, or is it made from making a milk out of the seeds of the hemp plant?
I do not think, and I've read something from Chris Bennett on this, that until recent times hemp seed were made into milk very often. I think that's a relatively new occurrence, and this is one of the reasons why the cow is held so sacred in India, and why the land of milk and honey has been thought to be a place of vibrancy. It was not really the milk and honey, but was what was extracted into it that was the trick. So, a lot of history has been written in a way that if you know the term milk and honey means bang, which is cannabis cooked into milk and honey, then yay, that's the land of milk and honey. And if you don't know, then you think, oh yeah, milk and honey, oh yeah, that's good, of course, Cheerios, right? But
real positive substance.
Yeah,
milk and honey.
Yeah, the use of hash as incense existed, kind of in most of the ancient civilizations around the world that we hear about. I guess just kind of briefly touching on some of the other historical uses of cannabis. In Taiwan, some of the earliest pottery apparently was made with first putting hemp strands in the pottery itself, because I guess the earlier kilns would just be like holes in the ground, and they bury the pottery in the sand and have a fire on top for a couple days, and so the fiber would help keep the pottery together. Some of the earliest decoration on pottery is strands of hemp fiber, actually, just made into just simple little patterns, circles and stuff like that. But there's little doubt that some of the, if not the earliest pottery, is made with these things as well. Cannabis was also found to have a number of benefits when applied on the skin as well. I think I mentioned that the anointing oil that Jesus made, and in fact the recipe in the Old Testament that Moses was told to make contained, I believe it was 6 or 7 pounds of cannabis in one vat. And the way that it used to be, you were initiated into the Hebrew priesthood, would be they'd have their temple built, like they used to have the towns basically be a big square, right? And so they gather everybody in the square to meet at noon. And then early in the morning, there'd be a set of stairs and then the temple, and they'd be hotboxing the temple with incense all day. They used to make like temple balls, Napoli's temple balls. They just roll them up and just keep throwing them on and keep it kind of slow burning, kind of. They'd douse them, with some bang to be sure. Then they'd make like a big pot of this oil, and they wouldn't let their priests shave, so they'd have big beards, lots of hair, probably wrap some towels around their head and put on a big white cloth, and they pour this vat of olive oil and cannabis. There's like 7 different ingredients put together, but really cannabis is the kicker. And they essentially would saturate you in this cannabis oil, and breathing it and drinking it, and they'd twirl you around a couple times, sing a song, beat a drum, and shove you out at high noon. And it would be a real amazing sight for the people that were watching, because when the sun came out at its highest, there would be this initiate into the priesthood standing there just glowing with the radiant feeling that they would have, and the consumption of cannabis that in that way would likely make a person feel not only just a little bit lightheaded, but from my own experience, it's a very warming and for lack of a better term, a loving feeling that can overcome you when you're under a large influence of cannabis. It could very easily be an experience that a young person would never forget and would be completely unfamiliar to them before that, and to explain to them that they were just paid a visit by God and touched by God, or you know, I'm kind of using the Hebrew religion, unfortunately, I in some ways, because I'm much more of a pagan, and I got other examples I could use, but you know, it would be very easily, or very easy, again, to, you know, have someone, you know, believe that they were just given, you know, knowledge about themselves and were able to kind of see the light in a way that would only be granted to them by the authority of God or Athena or whoever it is that the ceremony was in the name of. And so that was, again, an ancient common practice that in many ways the Judeo-Christian religions mimic. And so the half hour goes by so quickly. I'll try to get it started on time next week. And next week I'm doing the Marijuana Tax Act. So I'll pick up on a lot of the history of cannabis, I guess next semester in some ways when I do the history of prohibition. I really prefer to do the older stuff, so next week will be the more recent. And I just like to thank everybody for coming. I can already tell this is going to be the biggest year we've ever had for elections.
Yay!
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. Have a great day.